So one of the early problem that we faced was that the model was inconsistently giving answers in some occasion, yeah. And naturally, we all thought that this was a model hallucination problem, as we all blame the models if there is something wrong happening. So, but when we started doing our end-to-end tracing of the AI model, we found out that it was more the problem with the retrieval pipeline. Especially in our business case, it was a permission-based retrieval pipeline because the system that we designed as a RBAC control that used to determine what kind of information that a user can access. Yeah. So basically, that means like while we are doing the chunking, we had some permission-based metadata, and in some cases, those metadata were inconsistent or the permission were too restrictive, so the model could not provide the answer, and it seemed like the model was hallucinating. Yeah. So how we approached that problem was we started with the fix, not with having like bigger prompt or a smarter model, but we started redefining or redesigning how this permission are represented in each chunk. And also one thing we did was like we started testing this retrieval quality and this generation quality different and separately, and we started seeing some consistent answer being generated from the model. And the lesson what we learned was like, like in production AI system, the context of the AI is more important than the better model. So the second lesson that we learned was more about the observability problem. Yeah, so we already had some kind of observability for our AI system, like around the model. But in one of the stakeholder meeting, the client asked us a question like, why is the system taking too long to answer for just a simple query like hi or hello? Yeah, and then we started jumping directly to like, oh, the model, again the problem with the model. And we already had the traces of the model, and then we found out that the model is responding quite there was no latency around the model, but the overall system was having so much latency. Yeah? So it felt like the user is for the user it was taking too much time for a model to answer, but the model was already performant enough. Yeah. So what we decided there was like we need observability around the whole system, not just the model. Yeah. So what we did was we started investing heavily on the workflow around the model, and then quickly we found out that there was a problem with one of our important workflow. Yeah. So the bottleneck was happening even before the model was being invoked. Yeah? So what we did, that workflow was pretty big, so we started tracing small components of it, and then again we had to redesign the whole workflow around the system. And the lesson that we learned again was in production AI system, accountability and observability should not be only for the model or AI response, but around the whole system. And the third lesson we learned was it came later in the later stages after we had production, and the adoption of our platform started growing. So in the initial phases we had a few users. Yeah, so there were few query being asked, so the cost of the token was manageable. But once our platform started getting much traction, the cost started also getting exponentially high. Yeah, so since we already had observability, we started tracing why the system is why the cost is getting higher and higher. And then we found out from that observability we started analyzing the user pattern as well, what kind of question the user are asking, what kind of workflow are they invoking. For example, even for a small query like our model was invoking the whole workflow of retrieval, trying to check everything, and this was incurring the cost more and more. So what we decided, based on the observability that we had, so many users were asking the similar kind of question related to the business, FAQs, or maybe even terms and condition or some policy related to the business. So what we decided, every user query that had exact meaning, we started reusing the model response of that queries. Yeah, and also we started applying model routing, where the simple query based on the intent would be routed to a simpler model, and then the complex queries would be routed to our complex workflow. What this did was not only it reduced the cost, but also it managed the trade-off of latency and quality as well, because we didn't want to compromise those for the cost. So this also had a lesson of like in like production AI system, not only the intelligent model, but we also need to have accountability and sustainability of our system. Yeah. So yeah, looking back to our AI, our journey, what we realized was like what all the fixes came from like having strengthening the system, not around the model. Yeah? Every fix we did was all around the system, around the model. So what we learned is like, yes, intelligence for our system, for Gen AI system is important, but also we need to have in production system, basically we need to be able to have like trust and reliability of the user as well, because yeah, so because one of the famous quote is like intelligence will get you attention, but trust and reliability will have like long-term adoption. Yeah, so that was the lesson that we learned from our production-based system and what we learned from deploying our Gen AI system in production. Yeah, thank you guys.